What's up, guys, and welcome to Die Raids. It looks like we finally have our answer to this man, Armanz the Magnificent, and it's actually going to be with a new barbarian as well. So let's have a look at what we have over here. It's Loki, guys. So Loki has been confirmed as one of the 4 champions in the Asgard Divide. He is going to be a spirit support faction, barbarian faction champion. So he's actually weak to Armanz because Armanz is force. But let's have a look at his kit and I'll tell you why I think he is finally the counter to Armanz. So in his A1, we have attacks all enemies, has a 30% chance of increasing the duration of all enemy debuffs by 1 turn. If this champion is under a veil or perfect veil buff, the chance increases to 50%. Deceiver's Gambit, select a target. If the target is an enemy, so it's kind of like, what's that? Is he Shadowkin that can target both your own team, or you can target dead and alive rather. So select the target. If the target is an enemy, has a 75% chance of placing a block active skills, block buffs for 2 turns. If the champion using the skill is under a veil or a perfect veil, also applies a debuff spread effect, taking 2 random debuffs from the target and placing them on all enemies. If the target is an ally of this champion, heals them by 50% of his HP and places a perfect veil buff on them for 2 turns. So he's all about the perfect veils. As we know, Loki is the deceiver, so he's going to be hiding and striking from the shadows, it's looking like, and keeping your team hidden as well. So far it looks like he has some applications in Hydra with all of the veils going up and the block buffs and debuff spreads. So if your champion is under a veil or a perfect veil, he also applies a buff spread effect, taking a random buff from each target and placing it on all enemies. I am pretty sure Bronco is going to see this and is going to come up with something absolutely crazy for some of those shield compositions with Wixwell and Togron and some of those others on Hydra. It's going to happen. Bronco, do your thing, good man. So Bandit Flash then has a 75% chance of stealing all buffs from a target enemy and 100% of their turn meter. These effects cannot be resisted if this champion is under a veil or a perfect veil. So if the target's turn meter was not stolen, he boosts your team instead by 15% and places an increased attack. Okay, so where is he countering Armanz, you ask? Like, still, what's the story? He's like a budget Armanz. He steals one person's turn meter. Can't be resisted though, fair enough. But it's this now here. It's the Misstep passive. So places a perfect veil buff on this champion at the start of each round. So he's always going to be under perfect veil for his A3 and for his A1 if you choose to do so. Also places a perfect veil buff on this champion for 1 turn whenever his HP drops below 50%. Okay, good, but still no Armanz applicability. Then has a 15% chance to evade an enemy skill and all its accompanying effects. If this champion is under a veil or perfect veil buff, the chance increases to 30%. So evade is the new skill coming into the game. Then, if this champion's HP is below 50% when targeted by an enemy skill, has a 100% chance to evade that skill and all of its accompanying effects. Once that happens, the guaranteed evade skill will go on cooldown. So, he is an Armanz counter. So that means, let's say we have Armanz, and Armanz is always usually going to open with his turn meter steal. So steal the turn meter of each target, except for enemies under steep. They're steeping in their sheep. Also places a stun debuff for 1 turn on all enemies not under a sheep debuff. If he opens with this, Loki has a chance of using this, because he's always going to be under perfect fail at the start of the turn. Always going to have it. And he'll have a 30% chance of completely dodging this turn and all of its stuff. If he were to open with sheep, same thing. So it's adding in more chances and more ways to evade Armanz, his CC, his turn meter control, and his sheeping. He's not a 100% counter, but we're getting there, and evade is going to be the thing. This is the first champion we see that has it. It's going to be rolled out onto more champions. Same way Intercept is now on a few champions. Same way we now see Poison Cloud on Incensa, and you know, it was originally just Hydra only. So that's my thoughts on him. That's where I can see Loki being used in Arena for that. It does just make Armanz less reliable. So the counters we have for him so far are the likes of Stone Skin, High Resistance. We have the combos of what's her name, Ancora and Rhonda. Is a very good combo to outclass Armanz, and we're adding Loki in now as well with his passive there. So that's my thoughts on him. He'll be good for Arena for that specifically. He'll be good for a little bit of control. He's going to be good for Hydra for debuff and buff spread. That's where I see him using. Other than that, I don't see him being a massive addition to anybody's account. However, I know a lot of CCs will always say it. If they do something unique, get them, because we don't know what we don't know. Unique is always, it doesn't mean just because something's unique doesn't mean it's useful, but it does mean that you have a unique tool to experiment with, to try, and we don't know what content is coming down the road, but we do know there is a new dungeon on the map already. So is evade going to be necessary there? And don't forget, it does become a 100% evade when he's below 50% HP, so there could be some good applications there as well. That's my thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next one.